A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
You know, Corn, this whole show runs on GPU compute, and we wouldn't be here without Modal.
Seriously. And that's what powers all our text-to-speech. Everything you're hearing right now.
They're an AI infrastructure platform. Developers use them to run GPU workloads in the cloud with zero infrastructure headaches.
If you're building anything with AI, check them out. Modal.com. You know, Herman, I was looking at my browser tabs this morning, and I realized something depressing. Every single one of them, from my email to my project tracker to the app I use to order coffee, has a little sparkling AI icon in the corner now. It is like the tech industry collectively decided that if you do not have a glowing purple gradient somewhere on your landing page, you do not exist.
It is the great sparkle migration of 2024 and 2025 Corn. We're living through the peak of the AI-washed era. Honestly, today's prompt from Daniel is about exactly that, separating the wheat from the chaff. He is asking us to look at this new wave of AI-first SaaS apps and figure out who is actually building something new and who is just putting lipstick on a chatbot pig.
Lipstick on a chatbot pig. That is a vivid image I did not need before my second coffee. But he is right to ask. It is getting harder to tell. You open an app, it asks if you want it to summarize or rewrite in a professional tone, and that is it. That is the AI revolution for most legacy companies. By the way, speaking of revolutions, today's episode is powered by Google Gemini 3 Flash. It is the one pulling the strings behind the curtain today.
Herman Poppleberry here, ready to pull some curtains back myself. And look, the distinction Daniel is poking at is fundamental to how software is going to work for the next decade. There is a massive architectural gulf between AI-native and AI-retrofit. If you are a legacy player like Salesforce or HubSpot, you have decades of technical debt and a rigid data model built for humans to manually enter data into boxes. You cannot just flip a switch and become AI-native. You end up bolting on a sidebar.
Right, the sidebar syndrome. It is like adding a GPS to a horse and buggy. Sure, the horse knows where it is going now, but you are still shoveling manure and moving at 5 miles per hour. So, for the sake of the listeners who are drowning in subscription fees, how do we actually define AI first without just repeating marketing fluff? What is the technical litmus test here?
For me, it comes down to the data model and the workflow. In a traditional SaaS app, the software is a passive bucket. It sits there and waits for you to type. You are the integration engine. You take data from an email, you summarize it, you click new lead, you paste it in. In an AI-native app, the AI is the primary engine for data structuring. It does not wait for you to fill out a form. It watches the digital exhaust, your emails, your calls, your Slack messages, and it builds the database for you.
So, instead of a system of record where I am the data entry clerk, it is a system of intelligence where the app is actually doing the observational work.
That is the core of it. And you can see this clearly when you look at the new wave of CRMs. Take a company like Atio, for example. If you look at how they handled the transition in 2025, they moved away from the rigid objects of the past. Instead of saying, here is a contact record with 20 fixed fields, they use what they call magic fields. These are powered by large language models that scan your real-time communication history. It can categorize a lead or calculate deal risk based on the actual tone of your last 3 emails, not just because a salesperson checked a box saying, feeling good about this one.
I love that, because salespeople are notoriously optimistic or pessimistic, depending on how close they are to the end of the quarter. Having an objective LLM look at the exhaust, as you put it, and say, actually, the client hasn't replied to the last 2 follow-ups and mentioned a budget cut in the first call. That is a genuine value add. It is moving the AI from the sidebar into the actual data pipeline.
And that is the key. If the AI is in the pipeline, it can maintain context. One of the biggest problems with the bolted-on chatbots and legacy tools is the context window problem. You open the AI sidebar in a document editor, you ask it a question, and it only knows about the text currently on the screen. It doesn't know about the 5 other project docs in your folder. It doesn't know what you discussed in the meeting yesterday. It is a goldfish.
A very polite, very fast goldfish that can write poetry, but still a goldfish.
Well, not exactly. I promised I wouldn't say that word. You are right. It is a goldfish. Compare that to something like folk. They are calling themselves a relationship manager rather than a CRM. Their AI, which they call magic columns, doesn't just summarize, it executes. It scans LinkedIn updates and recent news about your contacts and then drafts hyper-personalized icebreakers. It is not just saying write a cold email. It is saying write an email mentioning that this person just got promoted and their company just opened a new office in Austin.
See? That feels like a workflow shift. It is not just making the writing part faster, it is removing the research and synthesis part of the job that usually takes up 80% of the time. But let's talk about the action execution, gap. This is where I see a lot of these apps falling over. It is one thing to suggest a follow-up, it is another thing to actually manage the project.
That is where the project management space is getting really interesting. We have seen a huge divide between the writing assistants and the agentic tools. Notion is the classic example of a legacy tool that moved fast. They added AI blocks very early. And look, Notion AI is great for drafting a blog post or summarizing a meeting note. But is it managing your project? Not really. It is still a document editor with a very smart intern sitting inside it.
Right, it is AI as a feature versus AI as an employee.
That is a great way to put it. Now, look at Cascade. They have taken a completely different architectural path. Instead of just a writing block, they built a system of autonomous AI agents. In Cascade, you can actually deploy multiple agents to work on different parts of a project simultaneously. You can have one agent whose entire job is to research market trends, another that audits your current tasks for bottlenecks, and a third that drafts the project plan. They work in the background while you are doing other things.
Wait, so it is not just me prompting a box and waiting for an answer. They are actually working on the canvas of the project.
Yes, they introduced something called Cascade Genesis in late 2025. It basically lets you build custom mini apps or automations using natural language. You tell it, I want a workflow that monitors our support inbox and automatically creates a high priority task if a customer mentions a billing error. And the AI builds that logic into the workspace. It is not just summarizing the support ticket, it is building the infrastructure to handle it.
That feels like the vibe coding shift we have talked about before, but applied to business processes. If I can describe an automation and the PM tool just becomes that automation, that is a massive leap over Jira or Triage, where I have to learn a complex query language or set up 20 different if this then that rules manually.
It is the death of the configuration specialist role. In the old world, you had to hire a Salesforce admin or a Jira expert to make the tool work for your team. In the AI native world, the tool adapts to the team's natural language. Linear is another great example of this in the developer space. They have stayed relatively quiet about AI in their marketing compared to others, but they integrated what they call product intelligence.
I have used Linea. It feels incredibly snappy, but I didn't realize there was a deep AI layer there. What are they doing differently?
They are attacking the triage problem. If you are running a software team, the most painful part of your week is looking at 100 bug reports and feature requests and deciding what is important, who should do it, and which milestone it belongs to. Linear's AI layer looks at the historical behavior of your team, who usually handles what, how long certain types of tasks take, what the code context of the bug report is, and it automatically triages the incoming work. It is not a chatbot you talk to, it is a background process that keeps the deck clear.
That is the invisible AI approach. I think I prefer that over the chat with your data trend. I don't want to have a conversation with my issue tracker. I want my issue tracker to stop bothering me with manual labor.
I think that is a sentiment a lot of people share. The chat interface was a great way for us to discover what LLMs could do in 2023, but by 2026, it is starting to feel like a burden. If I have to type a long prompt to get a simple result, the efficiency gains start to evaporate. The real winners in this AI first wave are the ones that use the AI to reduce the number of clicks and the amount of typing I have to do.
So, let's look at the second order effects of this. If we are moving toward these agentic autonomous tools, What does that do to team collaboration? If the AI is triaging the bugs and drafting the outreach, what are the humans actually doing in these apps?
They are becoming editors-in-chief or directors. The work shifts from execution to intent. You are setting the strategy and then reviewing the outputs. But this creates a new set of problems, Korn. Specifically, the context collapse problem. If you have 5 different AI agents working on a project, how do you ensure they are all aligned with the latest strategy change you made in a different meeting?
Right. If I tell my research agent one thing and my sales agent another, and they don't talk to each other, I'm just managing a digital version of a dysfunctional office. Which brings up an interesting technical point. How are these AI native apps handling the shared memory across these agents?
This is where the underlying architecture really matters. The legacy tools that retrofitted AI usually have a stateless implementation. Every time you open the AI sidebar, it is like a fresh start. The AI native apps are building vector databases or knowledge graphs directly into the core of the app. So, when you change a project goal in the Strategy tab, that change is immediately propagated as context to every agent working in every other tab. It is a unified brain for the company.
That sounds expensive, both in terms of compute and in terms of the AI premium these companies are charging. I have noticed that a lot of these AI powered legacy tools are tacking on $15, $20, or even $30 a month per user just for the AI features. Is that sustainable?
It is the subscription graveyard all over again. Gartner put out some interesting data recently showing that while 85% of software vendors added AI features in 2024, only 12% actually integrated it into the core workflow. Yet almost all of them are trying to charge a premium for it. Users are starting to realize they are paying $30 a month for a summarize button they use twice a week.
That is a terrible ROI. I mean, if I'm paying for an AI native tool like Cascade or ADIO, I am essentially paying for a digital employee. If that employee is actually doing the work of a junior analyst or a virtual assistant, $30 is a steal. But $30 for a professional tone rewriter? That is a scam.
And that is why we are seeing a shift in pricing models. Cascade, for example, has experimented with moving away from per seat pricing toward per outcome or agent-based pricing. They offer unlimited AI agents for a flat team fee. They are challenging the legacy model because they know that in an AI-driven world, adding a human seat shouldn't necessarily cost more if the AI is doing the bulk of the heavy lifting.
That is a fascinating pivot. It acknowledges that the unit of value in software has changed. It used to be access to the tool. Now it is work performed by the tool.
Precisely. Well, there I go again. You are absolutely. Wait, no, you are right on the money. The work performed is the new metric. Look at SleekFlow in the consumer and retail space. They are doing agentic commerce. Instead of just a chatbot that says, here is our shipping policy, their AI agents can actually handle a full sale on WhatsApp or Instagram. They can check inventory, process a payment, and schedule a delivery without a human ever touching the keyboard. If you are a small business owner, you don't care about per seat pricing. You care about how many sales that agent closed while you were sleeping.
Okay, so we have established that AI native tools are winning on architecture, context, and potentially pricing. But what about the risks? If I move my entire business process into an AI first CRM like Attio, am I just creating a new kind of vendor lock in? If the AI has learned my business through its observations, how do I move that intelligence if I want to switch tools later?
That is the data sovereignty nightmare of 2026. In the old world, you could export a CSV of your leads. In the AI native world, the value isn't just the list of leads, it is the inference the AI has made about them. How do you export a probability of churn model that was built on 2 years of email history? Right now, you can't. We don't have a standard for AI model portability.
So we are trading manual labor for algorithmic capture. It is a bit of a devil's bargain. I get my weekend back, but the software now knows more about my business than I do, and I can't leave.
It is a risk for sure, but the counter argument is that these AI native tools are showing 40 to 60% higher user retention rates in recent benchmarks compared to the legacy tools. People aren't staying because they are locked in. They are staying because the tool is actually solving the mental load problem. If I go back to Salesforce after using Attio, I feel like I am being asked to build my own car before I can drive to work.
I get that. Once you have seen the magic fields fill themselves in, going back to manual data entry feels like a punishment. It is like trying to use a paper map after getting used to Google Maps. You can do it, but why would you?
And this brings us to the actionable takeaways part of the show. If you are a small business owner or a team lead drowning in these AI washed options, how do you actually audit your stack? I have a 3-question test. I have been developing for this.
I love a good framework. Lay it on me.
Question 1. Does the AI learn from your data passively, or do you have to feed it manually? If you have to highlight text and click Summarize, it is a retrofit. If it sees your emails and updates a field automatically, it is native.
Okay, that is a clean line. Passive observation versus active prompting. What is number 2?
Question 2. Can the AI execute an action in another part of the app, or is it restricted to a sidebar? If the AI assistant can create a task, assign a budget, and notify a teammate based on a conversation, it is integrated. If it just gives you a checklist and says go do this, it is a glorified search engine.
Glorified search engine. Ouch. And the third one?
Question 3. Does it maintain state across sessions? If you ask it a question today, does it remember what you told it yesterday? This is the context window test. If every interaction is a first date, it is not an AI first tool. It is just a wrapper for a generic model.
That is a solid framework. I would add a fourth one, more on the red flag side. Look at the coming soon list. If a company's AI roadmap is full of basic things like PDF summarization or email drafting, they are playing catch up. They are trying to tick boxes for investors. The real innovators are talking about agentic workflows and automated triage and outcome-based pricing.
That is a great point. The feature checklist is the enemy of genuine innovation. You see these legacy companies announcing 50 new AI features in a single press release. No human can meaningfully use 50 new AI features in a single app. It is just noise. The AI native tools usually have fewer features but a much deeper capability.
It is the difference between a Swiss Army knife where every blade is dull and a really high-end chef's knife. I only need one tool if it is the right tool and it stays sharp. So, looking forward, do you think the legacy tools can ever actually close this gap? Can HubSpot or Notion eventually re-architect themselves to be truly AI native? Or are they destined to be the IBM mainframes of the AI era?
History suggests it is incredibly hard. It is the innovator's dilemma. If Salesforce truly moved to an AI native, automated data model, they would destroy the business model of the thousands of Salesforce consultants who make their living on the complexity of the old system. They have an ecosystem that relies on the software being difficult to use.
Right, the complexity industrial complex. If the software works perfectly out of the box, you don't need a $10,000 a month agency to manage it. That is a lot of people to make angry.
Oops, I did it again. I am so sorry, you are right. It is a massive hurdle. Meanwhile, the new players like Cascade and Adio and Linear don't have that baggage. They can build for a world where the AI is the primary user of the software and the human is just the supervisor. That is a fundamentally different design philosophy.
It is design for AI versus design for humans with AI as a sidekick. I think we are going to see a massive consolidation in the next 18 months. Subscription Graveyard is going to get a lot of new residents as people realize they can replace 4 or 5 AI washed tools with one genuinely AI native platform.
I think that is already happening. The SaaSpocalypse of 2025 was the first wave of that. Companies realized they were paying for 20 different AI assistants that didn't talk to each other. The move toward agentic tools is the logical next step. Why pay for a PM tool, a CRM, and a separate automation tool like Zapier when an AI native platform can handle the data pipeline, the project tracking, and the execution all in one?
It is a return to the all-in-one suite, but this time it actually works because the AI is the glue that holds the different modules together. Well, this has been a trip. I feel like I need to go audit my own browser tabs now and see how many goldfish I am currently paying for.
Just look for the sparkles corn. If it sparkles but doesn't do your chores, it is time to let it go.
Sound advice. Before we wrap up, I want to mention that if you are interested in the build-it-yourself side of this, moving away from the SaaS graveyard entirely, you should check out our older conversation in episode 1603. Fire your software subscriptions and just code the vibe. It is a good companion to this if you are feeling particularly rebellious against the subscription model.
A classic. And a big thanks to our producer, Hilbert Flumingtop, for keeping the gears turning behind the scenes.
And of course, thanks to Modal for providing the GPU credits that keep our digital brains humming. This has been My Weird Prompts.
If you found this useful, we are on Spotify and would love a follow there to help more people find the show.
Or find us at myweirdprompts.com for the full archive and RSS feed. Catch you in the next one.
See ya.
This episode was produced using Google Gemini 3 Flash. Text-to-speech by Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, My Weird Prompts, where our thoughts go from slow takes to facts on cue. We change and follow through. My Weird Prompts, that's the flows from sloth, from man, from long-eared host. My Weird Prompts, until next time, stay curious, keep weirding.